What it do? This is your brother Bishop of Bishop Zone TV, and today I will be discussing Jerrod Carmichael and his attack on Dave Chappelle. And yes, the man was attacking Dave Chappelle. Now, for those who are living under a rock or who simply don't know who Jerrod Carmichael is, and I don't blame you if you don't, in his recent stand-up special, Jerrod Carmichael came out as gay. And I don't know if that's the right word to say come out as gay, but he came out. He came out in his truth. Let's applaud him for that. Or snap. Yes, queen. I'm just joking. Calm down. I promise you it's just jokes. By the way, shouts out to the LGBTQ+. I have no smoke for y'all. I really don't. Now, let's get back to the Jerrod Carmichael situation. Jerrod Carmichael recently had an interview with GQ. And apparently, the man had some things to say about Dave Chappelle. Which, okay, you know what? Before I even give my own opinion about this, let's just go straight to what he said in this interview. Now, I'm taking this from a website who, you know, I like to be fair and balanced with my criticism. But this website is not fair or balanced at all. I'm not gonna lie. And they're more siding with Dave Chappelle in this interview. But the excerpts from the interview are actually Jerrod Carmichael's words. Like they didn't put anything new. They didn't edit the interview. This is exactly what he said. So let's read it from here. During an interview with GQ published on June 15th, Carmichael went on a profanity-laced tirade against Chappelle, beginning with his recalling that in terms of his being gay, and I quote, "It's hard for a family to just acknowledge the one part that you need acknowledged. My 15-year-old niece is the only one that really did that. She hit me with a quick text, I see you. I hear you." Also, Carmichael wrote or said, "I love this generation," he added before alluding to his comedy senior. "I actually F with them and F all those comedians that are going so hard against them." So he's the champion of the Pepsi generation. Carmichael then began to ramble. "Look, I get it. Everybody's got to create a boogeyman to sell tickets, but it's not true." Which, by the way, he's alluding to Dave Chappelle being a boogeyman. How ironic is that? You want to talk about boogeyman, and then here you go calling out Dave Chappelle as a boogeyman. Okay, but whatever. "Who's getting canceled for what?" Dave said. He asked, "What does that mean? That people are mad on Twitter? Everybody's fine. These grown men are fine." I agree and kind of disagree at the same time. I think some people are being quote unquote canceled, but those are people who are attached to the industry. So if you say something out of pocket, you can lose your job, and that can impact your career. So I don't understand why he's talking about, people can't be canceled, but at the same time, there's other lanes that people can gravitate to where they don't have to rely on sponsorships, and they can say what they want and not get canceled. You know what I mean? But I also feel like people should be held accountable for out-of-pocket things they say, or do. So that's fine. The comedian added, "I think a lot of times people who offer nothing truthful or meaningful about themselves then complain about society at large and create this boogeyman. It's like, listen, that's the most urgent thing in your life? God bless you. I'm tired of hearing it," Carmichael continued before moving to mention Chappelle by name and spout a further string of words on him. "Chappelle, do you know what comes up when you Google your name, bro?" he exclaimed. "That's the legacy. Your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans shit. It's an odd hill to die on. And it's like, hey, bro, who the F are you? Nah, nigga, who is you? Who is you, Carmichael? Who the fuck is you?" I know YouTube be tripping about the F word, but really, nigga, who is you? All jokes aside, who are you, Carmichael? Then Carmichael concluded, let's go back to the article. "Who do you F? What do you like to do? Childish jokes aside, who the F are you?" It just kind of played, but he's choosing to down the hill, so all right, let him. Chappelle, of course, did not create the so-called hill, rather LGBTQ. Okay, I'm not going to read all that because then that insinuates I agree with what this person said in this article. I mean, this website that was written about the article. Now, let me get on Carmichael. First of all, Chappelle dropped The Closer, which that's what he's referring to. He dropped The Closer last year. That's when that special came out. If I'm not mistaken, it was last year. And if it wasn't last year, it was sometime earlier this year. Second of all, Closer was in response to some jokes that he made on a prior stand-up. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this because I think people know this, but people are choosing to be ignorant and sensitive, overly sensitive over a topic based off the media's reception of it. If anything, this is actually annoying from Carmichael. It's like, dude, just because you came out now, you want to join a bandwagon, you want to join the shit on Chappelle's bandwagon now, especially on a predominantly white platform as GQ. And of course, you know, a lot of people in the media are rallying behind Carmichael now because, oh, he went on the tirade against the big bad Chappelle, the boogeyman. Because that's how the media is portraying Chappelle, as the boogeyman, instead of actually looking at The Closer for what it is in its full context. Looking at it contextually, without the feelings involved, and just analyzing every piece of thing that he said in that special. And it's like, Carmichael, you just joined the team. You just joined the team, and I get it. You overly excited that you came out. I get it. Hooray. So what though? It's like now you overcompensating, so you have to, oh, I'm gonna jump on Chappelle. And by the way, the interviewer in that GQ article didn't ask him about Dave Chappelle. So he just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna throw Chappelle under the bus. Motherfucker was all over the place. All over the place in the interview. It's like, dude, you don't know how to articulate yourself better than that? You could have said all that you said. You could have made your point without dragging him under the bus. So what was the point? What was the point? Now you feel a need to do so. It's almost as if it's like a woman, or not a woman, just a person in general who thought they were white this entire time, but felt like they were black inside. Then they took a DNA test and said, I'm 20% Nigerian. Oh my God, I knew it. And then all of a sudden the next day they just wearing their Black Lives Matter shirt, protesting and marching, quoting Malcolm X quotes during lunch. Like, Becky, you was not talking like this yesterday. What's going on? I know you listen to Biggie and stuff, but you were not like this before. This is exactly what Carmichael is doing. This is exactly what he's doing. And to be honest with you, I mean, I wouldn't really say anything about Carmichael because a lot of people have, criticized Chappelle as of lately. But it's Carmichael is the last person that should be talking about something controversial. He's the last person that should be talking about something that's childish. He's the last person that should be talking about something or talking about a hill that's being died on. Like, who are you? Like, again, you ask who is Chappelle? Nigga, who is you? Who are you to be talking? In previous stand-ups, you've made very racially insensitive, racially offensive jokes about black people. And I know because you're black, I get it, yeah. But no, you have. Because look at the crowd reactions in some of his earlier stand-up. It was one in 2014 where he made a joke about Trayvon Martin. I get where he was coming from. He wasn't necessarily mocking Trayvon Martin, but he was mocking people's reaction or people's perception of Trayvon Martin and black men who were being gunned down, who might look like they pose a threat. But then he's made some jokes about women that are, it's not like it's a mock on social commentary. It's actually can be considered sexist. He's made jokes about cancer. He's made jokes about rape that told the line of offensive and quote unquote commentary for the sake of commentary. Not every racy joke that he does on stage is satirical. And that's why his critique of Chappelle is so confusing, because it's like, bruh, I know right now it's very popular to come against Chappelle, especially since there's been a push, a movement with a lot of LGBTQ plus rights in this country. So what Chappelle is saying now can come off very offensive, which is ironic to me because people didn't have a problem with his jokes, or they didn't talk about it as loudly when he made a whole damn skit about a gay town on Chappelle's show. What makes that any different than what he's doing now? Explain that to me. And I only say that to say, you know what, Carmichael? You can ascend into stardom later on in life. And you know what? Someone can take your clips out of context, because you got a lot of clips to give people. They can take your clips out of context and use that against you to quote unquote cancel you, to have a problem with it, because people have done it before. But see, right now it's not the time to be talking about some goddamn feminism and women's rights. Y'all had y'all time. I'm saying that in a satirical way. I'm saying that just based off the fact that right now feminism and women's rights, or how women feel about certain topics, is not necessarily the hot topic in social media, in the world news abroad. You know, trans is one of the hot topics right now. So people quote unquote care about that. They care. Chappelle is getting to the core. And that's the thing. That's the thing about Chappelle. Chappelle has always talked about relevant issues that's going on in the world today. The LGBTQ plus is one of those. And he's always made jokes about certain demographics in his own way. How he's talking about LGBTQ plus now is no different than how he talked about certain other demographics prior to that. So why do people love him for doing it for this group, but when it comes to this other group, now all of a sudden they hate him? Now he's become a mean old grumpy man. Really? Just because you have a problem with it? Okay. Yeah, it's just, you know, the hypocrisy in people. And then the fact that Carmichael, a person who came out the gate really controversial, is just laughable to me. It's comical. And to be honest with you, a lot of it's projection. He's projecting on Chappelle based off his own family not accepting him. Because that's how he started the conversation off. He started the conversation talking about his family pretty much. And then he said, look, my niece, she's the only one that really just came to my aid within my family. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're projecting things onto Chappelle based off their own personal experiences instead of just taking these things for what they are. Chappelle is not responsible for your hurt caused by your daddy because he didn't accept you for you. He's not responsible for that. Just because you might hear some verbiage that sounds similar to what your father said or your mother said, does not mean that Chappelle is responsible for your trauma. He has a right to do what he does on stage. Just like Carmichael has a right to express his opinion. But I just think it's a little disingenuous when he just came out and all of a sudden now he's some goddamn Batman. I know that was weak, but he's some Batman of LGBTQ plus. Wait your turn, bruh. In fact, it's a lot of black LGBTQ plus, and I'm not trying to talk for them. They're not monolithic, like no group of people are monolithic people. But it's a lot of them that don't feel the exact same way as white LGBTQ plus about Dave Chappelle. So cut that shit out. What's your legacy? What would your legacy look like 20 years from now? Say all that shit you want about Chappelle. I've even seen people compare Chappelle to Richard Pryor and say Richard Pryor was an advocate for LGBTQ plus, failing to ignore the fact that at one point in time, Richard Pryor was criticized for being homophobic. Look it up. I'm not making this shit up. He was criticized for that because some things that he said on stage about LGBTQ plus. What's it gonna take? Chappelle to, God forbid, get an illness where he can't talk anymore, can't walk anymore, for people to, 5 to 10 years from now say, oh, well, Chappelle, he's a sweet old man. Y'all did it to Muhammad Ali too. Y'all hated Muhammad Ali when he could talk. All of a sudden when he couldn't talk, he's just a lovable Care Bear. And look, Carmichael, let's keep it a buck. I know I'm a no-name YouTube personality. I know this shit. But legacy shouldn't come out your goddamn mouth. When we talking about Chappelle in your ass, again, who is you? Nigga. Legacy. You ain't built the legacy yet. You have not built the legacy. They still show reruns of Chappelle. And Chappelle, that aired what? Almost 15 years ago? Nobody will be talking about the Carmichael show that was canceled. Nobody will be talking about that show 5 to 10 years from now. I promise you. Nobody will be talking about your stand-ups from 5 to 10 years from now. I promise you. Unless you make some better stand-ups. And I'm not saying you're trash. I'm not saying you're not talented. I think you are talented in your craft. I just don't find you that funny. I don't find you that funny. To me, you come off as somewhat condescending to black people, and you tell these condescending jokes about the black community in front of a bunch of white people, largely white people. There's some specks of black people at your shows, but largely white audiences. And they find it hilarious. That's you, bruh. I mean, you're more than that, but you don't even have a legacy right now. You don't. So, at the end of the day, what will people say about you? What are people saying about you now? That you came out and now you're the hero against the boogeyman Dave Chappelle. Because you got to sell some goddamn tickets and attention. That's it. Like and subscribe. And until next time, holla.